Iridology today. Iridology has come a long way since the work of Ignaz von Pexley. Today we have high-powered iris cameras and iris microscopes with fiber optic lighting to allow accuracy in iris research. Computer technology and the ability to email eye pictures around the world have allowed iridologists to view iris signs instantly and collaborate on iris findings. Many of the things that we historically thought to be true about iridology have been updated with the use of modern technology. The iridology chart has been improved upon as well. In this chapter, we will review how iridology works, iris research, iris topography, visible rings in the iris, iris positions, reaction fields, sectors, segments, and how to determine a right and left iris. Let's review what we know today. Today, we have high-powered digital iris cameras like this one by Miles Research, in which I take iris photographs in my office and show them up on my computer screen. In that way, I'm able to tell my clients the exact areas of genetic predisposition in their iris that they need to work on. Here we have the two charts, Dr. Bernard Jensen's chart, and I added 25 years of research to his chart. So let's review my chart. Here we have the stomach zone, which is in green, and that zone is right around the pupil. And I made the stomach zone in green. I love color, and that way you're able to see the area quite quickly. And the next zone, we see that area in tan, and that is the zone of digestion. And the third zone is the zone of the blood, and that zone is called the humeral zone, and I have it in dark pink, the zone of the blood. The light pink zone is the zone of the muscles. And then the next zone is the zone of the bones, and I have that in gray so we can quickly see the zone of the bones. The sixth zone is the zone of the lymph, which is light blue. And the last zone, zone 7, is dark blue, the zone of the skin. So that way you can quickly see the areas of the zones, and I have all of the organs and glands in purple. The heart areas are in red at 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the left eye, and 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the right eye. So that way we can see the heart areas quite quickly. I have the lung regions in blue, and I have always remember the organs and glands are in purple. I have added some areas to my chart that were not in Bernard Jensen's chart, and one area is the area of the liver. The liver was originally here, but we have also added it here, and we've added it here as well in the left iris. I've placed the pancreas areas at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 8 o'clock in both the right and left iris. And I've added the area called the pons, which is at 12 o'clock in both areas, both irises. And the pons is the part of the brain that directs signals from the right hemisphere to the left hemisphere. So these are some of the changes that I've added to the iridology chart in order to update them so that they are updated with the research that I've done, as well as many other iridologists in Germany and Italy and France and England. I kept the brain flare charts exactly the same as Bernard Jensen had them, and the brain flares represent the emotional parts of the brain, and those areas you can use as you need. So these are the changes that I've made to my iridology chart to be more up-to-date and helpful for the iridologist. This is Bernard Jensen's original chart that he had, and then I added the updates and the changes. Now we want to talk about visible rings in the iris. We have 3 visible rings in the iris, and the first ring is the ring of the pupillary border. So that area is the area where which borders the pupil, and then the next ring is the ring of the collarette, which is also called the small arterial circle. And the final ring, major ring in the iris, is the iris edge, and that is the large arterial circle. So we have 3 major rings that we want to look for in the iris of the eye: the pupillary border, the collarette, and the iris edge. There are several iris positions, and in iridology we like to learn a language. Plumbers have a language, doctors have a language, nurses have a language. And in order to talk with each other in iridology, we need a language. So we have the iris positions that are very important for you to learn. And the first one is the top of the iris is called the frontal or the superior region. The bottom is the ventral or the inferior region. The sides by the temples, your temples are called the temporal region. And then we also have the medial region by the nose. So if we want to look at a sign in the top of the iris, we would say the superior or frontal region. At the bottom, the ventral or inferior region. And then anything in between would be inferior nasal, superior temporal, or inferior temporal. These are all words that we learn for the language of iridology. The next word we learn for the language of iridology is reaction fields. Reaction fields are any area in the iris, for example, the reaction field of the heart. The heart is not exactly in the iris. It's not in the iris at all. It's in your chest. But this is the area that the heart reacts upon within the iris. Here we have the reaction field of the thyroid gland. The thyroid is not in the iris, but this is the area where we see a sign for the thyroid and upon which the thyroid is reacting upon, or the kidney. Any area of the iris that we are looking at a sign for is a reaction field. Here is the reaction field of the pancreas. It is at 8 o'clock in the right iris. It's also a reaction field for the pancreas is at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 4 o'clock in the right iris. So all of these areas are areas called reaction fields. So we wouldn't say the pancreas is there. We would say the reaction field for the pancreas is there in those locations. Another language that we use, we say sectors or segments. A sector of the iris is actually like a piece of pie. And so as we look at the sectors, here, they look like pieces of a pie. If we were talking to an iridologist on the phone in another country and we saw a sign at this area between 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock, we would say it was in the sector between 11 and 12 o'clock. The segment is another language that we use where it looks like we've cut off the side of the iris, so there may be a complete dark brown color in that segment, for example, that we would like to point out. So sectors and segment are important words that the iridologist needs to learn. Now we need to know how to tell the difference between a right iris and a left iris. So if you'll look here, the right iris is here, and the left iris is here. Now, to tell the difference, if you're looking at a photograph of a right iris, we're going to look at where the canthus, or the area, is that points right beside the nose. So that will be on your right-hand side. If you're looking at a left iris, you'll see where the canthus is on your left-hand side, or the area right beside the person's nose. The other thing we can do to tell the difference between a right and left iris is look at the size of the iris. If we measure the iris from the pupil border to the iris edge, it will be shorter in a right iris on your right side and shorter in a left iris on your left side. That's how we tell the difference between a right and a left iris.